You've heard it 100 times. Wait until 70. Every year you delay Social Security, your check grows 8%. Waiting is always the smart move. And for a lot of people, that's true. But here's what almost nobody says out loud. That advice is sold as one size fits all, and it is not. There are 4 common situations where waiting until 70 quietly costs a retiree money they will never get back. Checks that were theirs to collect and never were. If you're between 60 and 67 and you've been told to wait without anyone asking about your situation, this video is for you. Now, if you've never questioned that advice, you are not behind and you are not foolish. You are completely normal. The math behind it is genuine, and we're going to walk it honestly. But nobody ever sits us down and explains who that math works for and who it fails. So today, I'm going to be the neighbor who finally does. Before we get into it, tap that like button and subscribe so these retirement breakdowns keep finding you. That one click tells YouTube to show this to another retiree who needs it. All right, let's get back to your money. Here's the roadmap. First, the math everyone quotes. The real numbers behind claiming at 62 versus 70. Second, the single strongest argument for waiting at full strength, because you deserve to hear it before you hear anything against it. Then, the 4 situations where the delay math falls apart. Your health, your household, your earning history, and the price of paying for the wait out of your own savings. And stay with this until the end, because the last section hands you 5 questions you can sit down with at the kitchen table tonight. Answer them honestly, and you'll know which side of this decision your situation actually sits on. Not what a stranger on the internet thinks, what your numbers say. Let's start with the rules as Social Security actually writes them, because the wait until 70 advice isn't made up, it's arithmetic. If you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. That's when Social Security pays 100% of your benefit, your primary insurance amount. Claim before 67, and the check shrinks by a precise formula, 0.05% for each of the first 36 months early, and 0.05% for every month beyond that. Claim at 62, and that's a 30% reduction, permanent, for life. Run it the other direction, and for every year you wait past 67, your check grows 8%. Those are delayed retirement credits, and they stop at 70. There is zero benefit to waiting past 70. None. Put it on one card. Say your full retirement age benefit is $2,000 a month. Claim at 62, $1,400. Wait until 70, $2,480. Roughly 77% more per month. Same work record, same person, just the date on the application. Hear that again, friend. 77% more. That's the case for waiting, and it's real. And right about now, some of you are thinking, Ray, if the bigger check wins by 77%, what is there to even talk about? Fair question, friend. Here's what that number hides. A monthly check is only half the equation. The other half is how many checks you live to collect and who's left collecting after you. Before I give you one reason to claim earlier, you're going to hear the strongest reason to wait, at full strength. When a married person dies, the surviving spouse doesn't keep both checks. They keep the larger one. That's the survivor benefit, up to 100% of what the deceased spouse was receiving, including every delayed retirement credit that spouse earned. Which means the higher earner's claiming age doesn't just set their own check, it sets the floor under their widow or widower for the rest of that survivor's life. A higher earner who waits until 70 isn't just buying a bigger check for maybe 20 years. They're buying their spouse a bigger check for what could be 30. One softening detail, because it's real. If the deceased claimed early at a reduced rate, the survivor is protected by a floor of 82.5% of the deceased's full retirement age amount, as long as they wait until their own full retirement age to claim it. So claiming early doesn't pass the entire reduction on to your survivor, but it passes most of the difference, and none of the delayed credits ever existed to pass on. So write this down first. If you are the higher earner and your spouse would depend on your record after you're gone, the wait until 70 math is at its absolute strongest for you. Everything that follows gets weighed against this. Now the other side of the ledger. Waiting means giving up checks now for bigger checks later. So there's a crossover point, an age where the bigger check strategy finally catches up. Before it, the early claimer is ahead. After it, the delayer pulls away forever. Run it with the same $2,000 benefit. Claiming at 62 pays $1,400 a month. By age 70, that person has collected 96 checks, about $134,000, before the delayer has collected a dime. From 70 on, the delayer's check is bigger by $1,080 a month. Divide the head start by the gap, and it takes roughly 10.5 years of bigger checks to catch up. That puts the crossover around age 80.5. Cost of living adjustments nudge it a little earlier because they compound on the bigger base, but the shape doesn't change. The break-even lives in your early 80s. Now, very clearly, I am not telling you to bet against your own longevity. What I'm reporting is that the wait-until-70 advice contains a hidden assumption that you'll live well past your early 80s. For many people, that's a good assumption. But if you're carrying a serious diagnosis, if the people in your family have consistently not seen 80, if your doctor has had the hard conversation with you, then that advice assumes a lifespan your own situation is telling you not to count on. And here's the part that stings. The person who waits until 70 and passes at 74 didn't just lose the bigger checks, they lost 8 years of the smaller ones too. Unmarried, that money is simply gone. There's no do-over on uncollected checks, friend. I know that got heavy. Take a breath. You don't need to calculate anything. The checklist at the end handles it. You just need to know the crossover exists and that your health record gets a vote whether the standard advice acknowledges it or not. Remember the survivor's floor, the strongest reason to wait? Here's the flip side, just as strong in the other direction. Because I can hear somebody out there saying, "But Ray, I'm on my own. Does any of that even apply to me?" And that, friend, is exactly the right question. If no one will ever draw a survivor benefit on your record, the single most powerful argument for delaying simply does not apply to you. Who does that describe? Someone single who plans to stay that way. Someone widowed who doesn't plan to remarry. Someone divorced after a marriage shorter than 10 years. In every one of those situations, what does my claiming age do to my survivor has a one-word answer: nothing. That doesn't automatically mean claim early. The break-even math still runs, and if you're healthy with longevity in the family, waiting can still win on your own account alone. But notice what just happened. The decision collapsed from a 2-lifetime calculation down to 1, yours. And a 1-lifetime calculation is a much closer race. The delay advice was built with a married couple in the room. If you're deciding for yourself alone, half the argument just left the building. This one hides in plain sight in millions of households. Everything I said about the higher earner's claiming age echoing for 2 lifetimes, none of it works the same for the lower earner. Here's why. When the first spouse dies, the household keeps the larger check. Only the larger check. So if you're the lower earner and you spent years delaying to fatten your benefit, the moment either of you passes, that carefully grown check can vanish from the household. If your spouse dies first, you step up to the survivor amount and your own delayed credits stop mattering. If you die first, your spouse keeps their own larger check and your credits die with you. Either way, the 8% a year you paid for had a shelf life nobody mentioned. And a second rule stacks on top. If part of what you'd receive is a spousal benefit, up to half of your spouse's full retirement age amount, hear this. Spousal benefits earn no delayed retirement credits. None. A spousal benefit maxes out at your own full retirement age, and waiting past it buys nothing. Hear that again, friend. Delayed credits grow your retirement benefit. They do not grow a spousal benefit, and they may not survive the first death in your house. This is why you'll sometimes see a household run it split. The lower earner claims earlier to bring income in the door, while the higher earner's benefit keeps growing. Because that check is the one that lasts 2 lifetimes. I'm not prescribing that. I'm reporting which check the rules actually protect, so the two of you can look at your own numbers with clear eyes. And quick reminder, friend, this is for education only, not tax or financial advice. Run your own numbers or sit down with a qualified professional before you make a move. Now, the reason that catches people who did everything right. Waiting until 70 doesn't pause your bills. Stop working at 62 and delay to 70, and 8 years of groceries, insurance, and property taxes get paid from somewhere, usually your savings. The wait isn't free. It's financed by you. And the timing of that financing matters more than the amount. Drawing hard on your investments in the first years of retirement means selling when you have the most years left to fund. If the market drops early in that window, you're selling more shares at lower prices to cover the same bills. And those shares aren't there to recover when the market does. So the honest question isn't, is a bigger check at 70 worth more? It's, is it worth what I'll drain from my savings to get there, and the risk I take on while draining it? For someone with a pension covering the gap, that trade can look easy. For someone selling investments in a down year to bridge to 70, very different. Same rule, different situations. That's the whole theme of this video. Two more rules live in this same stretch, and they ambush people every year. Stay with me, these are quick. First, the earnings test. Claim before your full retirement age and keep working, and there's a limit. In 2026, if you're under full retirement age all year, Social Security withholds $1 for every 2 you earn above $24,480. In the year you reach full retirement age, the limit jumps to $65,160. The withholding drops to $1 for every 3, and only the months before your birthday month count. After full retirement age, no limit at all. And I can hear it now. Hold on, Ray. They take my benefits away if I keep working? No, friend. And this is what almost every article gets wrong. Social Security's own booklet says it plainly. Withheld benefits are not lost. At your full retirement age, your check is recalculated upward to account for every withheld month. Their own example. Claim at 62 at $910 a month. Have 12 months withheld while working, and at 67, the check is recomputed to $975. The earnings test is a delay, not a penalty, but nobody tells you that, so people quit jobs they liked to duck a rule that was going to pay them back anyway. One housekeeping note, the special monthly version of that limit for your first retirement year, $2,040 a month, is in its last year. Per Social Security's own page, starting in 2027, only the annual limit applies. Planning a mid-year retirement? That detail deserves a fresh look when the time comes. Second, for anyone retiring before 65, if you'll buy marketplace health coverage before Medicare, claiming Social Security early raises the income those subsidies are calculated on, and that calculation counts your Social Security, including the portion that isn't taxed. Claim early, and you can shrink or lose a subsidy worth thousands without feeling a dollar wealthier. The 2026 rules around that cliff deserve their own video, and they'll get one. For today, claiming early and pre-65 health coverage are one conversation, not two. That was the dense stretch, and you made it. Every number will be on screen and linked below. What matters is the pattern. The years between claiming and full retirement age are full of rules that interact, and the wait until 70 advice mentions none of them. Let's watch all of this land in one kitchen. Take a couple I'll call Frank and Diane. Invented folks, round numbers, real rules. Frank is 63, Diane is 61. And here's the wrinkle. Diane is the higher earner. Her benefit at full retirement age would be $3,000 a month. Frank's would be $1,800. Frank's heart has given him 2 scares in 5 years, and his father and uncle both passed before 78. Run the standard advice, both wait until 70, and look what it asks. Frank finances 7 years from savings while betting on a longevity his own cardiologist won't endorse. And because Frank is the lower earner, you already know the quiet part. Whichever of them passes first, Frank's delayed credits stop mattering to this household. He'd be paying full price for credits with a shelf life. Now run it the other way. Frank claims at 63, 4 years early. The reduction formula from the top of the video, 36 months at 0.05% plus 12 at 5/12 is 25%. Frank's $1,800 becomes $1,350 a month. Real money in the door now, money that stops draining their savings, money Frank actually collects while his health allows. Diane, higher earner, excellent health, mother still sharp at 91, keeps her benefit growing. Hold to 70, and her $3,000 becomes $3,720. And you know what that number really is. If she passes first, it's Frank's survivor benefit. If Frank passes first, it's the check Diane lives on. Either way, the household's lasting check is the one that grew, and the one claimed early was the one the rules were always going to retire first. One household. One claims at 63, one waits for 70. Both decisions from the same clear look at the same rules. That's what I mean when I say this was never one size fits all. The 5 kitchen table questions I promised. Write them down or screenshot this card. 1. What does my health record and family history honestly say about my odds of living well past 80? Not hope, honestly. 2. Will anyone draw a survivor benefit on my record after I'm gone? If yes, the delay math strengthens, a lot. If no, it weakens, a lot. 3. Am I the higher earner or the lower earner in my household? The higher earner's claiming age echoes for 2 lifetimes. The lower earners may not survive the first. 4. If I wait, what exactly pays my bills in the meantime? And can it take a bad market year without me selling at the bottom? 5. Between now and 65, does claiming early collide with a paycheck or with marketplace health coverage? If either applies, the earnings test and marketplace rules get a seat at your table. 5 questions. 1 honest evening. And when you do sit down with a qualified professional, walking in with those 5 answered makes that hour worth 10 times more. Now the thing that keeps this channel honest. The point of today was never claim early. Plenty of you watching should wait. If you're the healthy, higher earner with a spouse counting on your record and a pension bridging the gap, waiting until 70 may be exactly right, and there is nothing wrong with that. The point is that always wait was never a rule. It was a rule of thumb, and your thumb is not your neighbor's thumb. 4 situations flip that advice on its head, and now you know how to check whether you're standing in one. And if you're sitting there thinking, Ray, what if I already filed? Hold that thought. There are rules for that too, and they deserve their own video. Now, I want to be clear with you, the way a good neighbor should be. Everything I've shared today is for education, to help you ask smarter questions. It is not financial, tax, or legal advice. Your situation is your own. So before you lock in a decision, sit down with a qualified professional and walk through your specific numbers. If this cleared things up, 3 quick things. Tap the like button so this finds the next retiree wrestling with the same decision. Subscribe. There's a video coming on that pre-65 health coverage cliff you won't want to miss. And in the comments, type the word timing, just that one word, and tell me which of the 5 questions hit closest to home.